Welcome in, builders. This week we're taking a look at Middle Age Pelagia, Triton Kings. This is going to be a rough one. Unfortunately, like several of the water nations in early age, we have a nation that just feels like it's unfinished. Let's take a look and see what they got going on. Pelagia was the first kingdom to form in the depths. It's a nation of Tritons, humanoid beings with fin-like legs, ruled by powerful Triton priest kings. It dominated much of the seas. After the devastating event that shattered the ocean depths, Pelagia quickly recovered. Relay was destroyed and reformed under a strange race, and Atlantis lost much of its former power when their basalt cities toppled and their kings were buried under broken pillars. Pelagia, on the other hand, was never dependent on the deeper seas, and the fallen star did not touch their home. The Triton kingdom survived and evolved. The Triton kings of earlier times lost much of their priestly authority. Respected, but not worshipped like divine beings, they turned themselves from their lesser kin. Now they rule in name only, looking inward and trying to master the secrets of the sea. The tribal divisions of the kingdom have lessened over time, and the shark tribe and turtle tribe are now part of the greater Pelagian culture. The mermen and their coastal traders have found other partners since the destruction of Baratos, but they are still an important part of the Pelagian economy, and they have brought bronze to the depths. Now, Pelagian soldiers have abandoned the crude armor of earlier times and fight in armor of gleaming bronze. The earlier contact with Baratos and Therados has rekindled interest in the Telkine secrets and lore. With the final rest of Therados, the secrets of the Telkine have become available for Pelagian sages. So a pretty cool lore here. They've weathered the end of early age pretty well. As it was mentioned here, the meteorite didn't really affect them. This is kind of a shallow kingdom, a kingdom straddling the shallows and the shore, similar kind of to Oceania. And they've done okay for themselves. What they haven't done okay on is their troop lineup. Let's see what the problems are. Let's look at national features. As a race, we are underwater, meaning most of our stuff down here is either aquatic only or is amphibious. That's a bit of an oof. That's a bit of an oof. Aquatic Tritons and amphibious mermen, light infantry, heavy infantry, sacred and aquatic knights. For magic, we are very strong in water, and we have a little bit of astral, nature, air, and a very small amount of earth and fire. Our mages are weaker on dry land, and mages can convert water gems into astral pearls. Our priests are medium, but that's not totally true, and we are weak on land. We have a priest level 2 underwater, which is aquatic, and only a priest level 1 on land. For scales and blesses, we have an order limit of +1 and a productivity limit of +1. We build standard forts of the era. That means we build castles, and of course we can do that underwater and above water. Very important that we secure a lot of water because our above water recruits leave a lot to be desired, unfortunately. Moving down to our site, we have the Palace of Pearls. This allows us to get our cap-only things along with 4 water gems and a nature gem. So good in the water. Water gems are your power underwater with being able to do various battlefield enchantments and summoning in water elementals. The nature is nice, but unfortunately, very low variety here. Do note that we can turn water gems into astral gems. All it takes is mage time, so that we do have a little bit better access to astral than other people would otherwise. Units and sacreds. For units, we have a somewhat wide amount of units. However, a good portion of these are going to be aquatic only, and thus their use is going to be somewhat limited. Starting off, we have the Pelagian Militia. This is a aquatic militia unit with 9 morale. They have a coral spear. Coral spears are nice because they do have some light poison, which is handy to have. Otherwise, I don't think we're using this guy. 9 morale and aquatic only, not feeling it. Next up, we have the Merman. This is a slightly better equipped guy. He is up to 10 morale, which is nice. He does have a net, and he also still is using the coral spear. I do get these guys if I just have a tiny amount of resources left and I just want more bodies. The nets can be relatively useful. However, this is not a frontline troop, being that they're wearing no armor and their morale is lacking. Do note these are amphibians, so they can come on land and help you out. Next up, we have the Pelagian Soldier. This is another aquatic only. We have a short bronze trident, which is length 3, and it does 17 piercing damage. They're okay with them. We are wearing a bronze cuirass, a bronze cap, and we have a turtle shell shield, giving us a 14 protection, which is all right. Next up, we have the Wave Warrior. This is an important troop because he is actually amphibious. Has a bronze trident, has a bronze cuirass, and a cap. So no shield, but we have a trident. Tridents are pretty good weapons. 11 attack is decent, and 19 piercing damage is very nice. Good and stabby troop here. 14 protection's okay. Little high on the encumbrance because it's bronze. Bronze has higher encumbrance than iron does generally. But like I said, they are amphibious, so that is very important to note for us. Wave Warriors going to be needed to get on land. Next up, we have the Coral Clan Hoplite, a very nice unit. However, they are aquatic only, unfortunately. They have Formation Fighter, they're using long coral spears, and they're very good with them. This is an excellent underwater troop. Bronze Halberd, a Hoplite helmet, and a turtle shell shield. So we look here, it is 18 on the body and 21 on the head, plus a shield. Very, very nice troop. My caution to you is, what are you going to do with 100 of these guys once you've conquered the ocean? I don't know. So just be aware that you have a troop here that is a little pricey and specialized for underwater combat. Until you've conquered the seas, though, could be very useful. Do note that we are much higher in need of resources than we are of recruitment points. So higher production rather than order is probably the way you want to go. Next up, we have the Amber Clan Guard. Again, aquatic only, unfortunately. We're using a short bronze trident. We have Amber Halberd, shield, and helmet, which is all right gear. It gives us 17 protection, not too bad. If you don't want to go with hoplites, this is probably your better line troop. Again, though, look at these resources. Now we're up to basically double resources compared to recruitment points. Very, very heavy expense on this troop for an okay troop, but again, the aquatic's going to get you. Next up, we have the Champion of the Closed Realm. This is one of 2 sacred units we have. This is a very mediocre sacred. 23 gold, 30 resources, 27 recruitment points. So 1-to-1 on that at least. A little better than human hit points and training here. They are sacred, they are amphibious, but we have a plate halberd, a hoplite helmet, and a shield. That's fine equipment, gives us 19 protection, that's all right. We are wielding a short sword that we're pretty decent with, but that's it. This is slightly better than a human troop that is amphibious. That is your sacred. That is not saying a lot. Has not saying a lot. In an era that has sacred heavy cavalry or other high value sacreds, this guy is known for being aquatic. Well, being amphibian, excuse me. You're going to probably need them. You're going to probably use them. You're probably going to overbless them. That's just an unfortunate bit here. Our second sacred is the Knight of the Deeps. Very nice sacred. Very nice sacred. If he was amphibious, we would be talking. But he's not. He's aquatic. He does come in with recuperation, which is rather nice. 70 gold, 47 resources, 58 recruitment points. This is pretty pricey, but you get what you pay for. Having underwater cavalry is kind of rare, and these guys are decent. They have an actual lance, so you do get a lance hit. They are pretty armored at 17 protection. Their mount has both a flipper attack and an olicorn, which is a magic attack, which is really nice. They are wearing barding, and it is really good barding. Excellent unit, just unfortunately handicapped by the fact that it is aquatic. I would say while you're doing underwater wars, this is the guy you want. Even if you don't bless them, this is a good troop. If you were going to straight up make a blessing for these guys, I don't know. I wish they had the longer, I guess lances never go up to length 4, but I wish they had a length 4 weapon and you could do a rappel build on them, with like Blood Surge would be really good, but they don't. A lot of things underwater have length 3 weapons, whether they're spears, coral spears, tridents. Lots of things have that. So I don't know if a repel build's in the works here, but you're probably gonna more want to focus on your blessing for your champion of the closed realm. So I think you make your blessing for him, and you just try to make sure you pick something that's gonna work here. And I don't know. I haven't come up with a particularly great one, if I'm being honest. Next up, we have some coastal fort recruitments. We have the Merman Hoplite. This is a bronze-equipped soldier. He is an actual amphibian. He does have formation fighter. Has a bronze long spear, which, while it's nice that it's length 4, it's only 10 attack and it's only 13 damage. That is kind of a red flag to me. 13 piercing damage is going to struggle against the armor of the era in a lot of cases. So this is a troop that's going to hold the line, hopefully, but don't count on them being particularly killy against anything else in armor. Equipment-wise, Braun Hallberg, Hoplite Shield, and does have an actual Hoplon, so a really nice shield here. 18 protection. Yeah, 18 protection, plus that nice 19 on a Hoplon. These guys are actually pretty well protected above water, which is rather nice. A lot of water nations that can get above water don't have anti-range stuff. So very well equipped troop here. And the cost isn't terrible. 13 gold, 29 resources, 16 recruitment. However, their killiness is going to let you down. Finally, we have the Apostate of the Closed Realm. This is like I guess he'd be a medium or a light troop, depending. He has a short sword, he has javelins, he wears a plate cuirass and a shield. Do note that his gear is iron. That's a bit of an oof, because you're gonna, if you use your amphibian, it's going to rust your gear out, and you need to get to a fort on land in order to repair that. But if you're just staying on land, these guys are okay. Note the low protection though. So I'm imagining you generally are going to have hoplites in the middle, and then some of these guys on your flanks to throw some javelins, and then try to just get your wraparound on other troops. This is not going to keep them alive. No helmet, do note. Not going to keep them alive as a main line troop in the Middle Ages, unfortunately. So overall, kind of a lackluster lineup down here. I'll also note our champion of the closed realm has the same problem with using iron gear. He has a plate halberd, which is iron. This will rust when you're underwater. So you need to not only get above water with them, you need to have them path through a fort so they have time to repair their armor. That sucks. There's not a lot of sacreds that have to go through hoops like that to be at a standard level of troop usefulness. Very disappointing there. Frankly, he would be better off in bronze. At least we wouldn't have that issue. That's kind of an oof here, unfortunately. Heroes, commanders, and prophet. As for heroes, Illwinter has given us no heroes, despite the fact that this is a very old nation. I don't know why we keep adding water nations and then not finishing them. That's very disappointing to me. I didn't get any heroes in my test games either, so I don't think it's just a mod issue not showing them to me. For commanders, we have a huge lineup here. Starting with a Merman Scout. This is an amphibious scout. He does have a magic weapons for some weird reason, and he has a net. I mean, that's fine. It's not going to do anything for you, I don't particularly think. Next, we have a Wave Lord. This is your standard commander. He is an amphibian. He does have a Pearl Trident, which is a magic weapon. That's nice. He does have a cap and a cuirass. No shield, unfortunately. However, 75 leadership, we don't get formations, and that sucks. That sucks. I wish we had 100 leadership here. Otherwise, he's fine. He's pretty cheap. Next up, we have Next up, we have the Pelagian Captain. This is in aquatic only. So, aquatic only. He does have the magic weapon. He does have a shield, but be wary. It's aquatic only. So once you're done under the waves, what is he going to do? I think I would generally prefer to get a Wave Lord than a Captain, just because of his amphibianness. Next, we have the Amber Clan notable. Again, aquatic only. He is up to 100 leadership finally, so that is something. Maybe one of these guys to lead your underwater troops could be worthwhile. He's wearing that amber gear, which is very expensive, and he is using a magic weapon, which is nice. It is also a length 4 trident. Pretty darn nice. I wish we had these guys as a troop choice. Doubly so if they were amphibious. Next up, we have the Merman Priest. This can be recruited in coastal forts. This is an aquatic priest level 1 sacred. He has 10 leadership. Other than that, he's basically an indie priest that's amphibious. Next, we have the Amber Clan Priest. This is a aquatic only priest level 1. His leadership is 50. If you're just maybe getting somebody to grab some indies that you're recruiting and group them up, maybe this guy could help do a little bit of preaching or something. But otherwise, I would rather have the amphibious guy, because then at least he could go on land and build temples and preach. Next, we have the Pearl Clan Priest. This is our priest level 2. Also has the 50 leadership. Is aquatic. He has a coral club, which does have a poison on it. However, how many of these you're going to get? 1 or 2 maybe to help with your underwater conquests, and then you're kind of done with them. The extra Sermons of Courage is nice. We don't have particularly amazing morale, although we're not bad either. Underwater tends to be very stabby, and I do see a lot of routing under, HP routing, but the Sermon of Courage will help you stay in the combat longer before that happens. Next up, we have the Pelagian Mermage. This is a mage that we can recruit. I believe he's underwater only. I'm almost certain. He has water level 1. He has a random of air, water, earth, or nature. So decent little spread, although he's not going to be high in anything. He has 9 research for 108 gold. He is just not efficient. I don't know how many of these you're going to get, unfortunately. Next up, we have a Pelagian Mystic. This guy would be really interesting. This is kind of their Therados knockoff. The problem with him is he's slow to recruit for some weird reason. Not sure why. He is pretty gold efficient. For only 180 gold, you get 15 research. And that's due to his Adept Researcher. Pathwise, he has air, water, earth, and a random of air, water, earth, astral. So decent pathing, and he can actually get to 2 in those. 2 earth especially is interesting for earth power into better stuff. He is 144 gold a year for 15 research, so he is just efficient. I don't know. I think you're going to get a few of these guys, but the slow to recruit really hurts him. Really hurts him. I'd love to know what the thought process of that is. If they were philosophers, that would make a lot more sense to me, but they're not. And even if they were, they would actually be terrible because we need production, I suppose. Do note, their instrument is iron, so it's also going to rust. Just to add insult to injury. Next up, we have the Pearl Mage. This one is a little pricey at 245, but they're decent underwater, which is good because they're aquatic only. Water 2, Astral 1, and they get a random of air, water, astral, nature. 13 research. Note the low morale. 13 research for 196 is not efficient. Why would you get these guys? They have Pearl Cultivator. This will allow us to take water gems and transform them into astral pearls. It is a 1-to-1 ratio, and it's based on the Pearl Cultivator level, so he can do 3 gems into 3 gems every turn. But do note, you're paying 196 gold for the privilege. So it is better than 2 for 1ing, but you're paying a premium on that. Next up, we have the Amber Clam Mage. This is interesting. Amphibious only, has fire, water 2, and then water, earth, or nature. So this does give us a little bit of fire access. I don't know if we're getting many of these guys. Maybe to do some fire searching, maybe to do some fire jelly summoning. I'd have to look at what the pathing of that is, but fire jellies are really good underwater, so I could maybe see going for that. Otherwise, amphibious really kills it. Or excuse me, not having amphibious. You can tell how disturbed I am by this. Next up, we have the Triton Prince. This is cap only. He is the leader version of one of our sacreds. Does have that nice recuperation. Is a good skilled rider. Mount is the same with the magic weapon and the flipper attack. Also, good magic resist for an animal. They're fine. They're good leaders at 150. I would probably pick up 1 or 2 of these and have them probably lead your underwater troops around. They have good map move if they have to go back for reinforcements. They have good leadership. 150 gives you a +2 on your morale for 4 squads. They can take your blessing. They do have recoup. I like them. It's just unfortunate that they're not amphibious. Next up, we have the Conqueror of the Closed Realm. This is our other cap only sacred leader. He has a random pathing of air, earth, or astral. This is really nice. He's a priest level 1. If he gets air, he can air shield himself. If he gets earth, he can give himself protection and temper flesh. And if he gets astral, he can give himself body ethereal. Do note they like to cast blink for some reason, like a lot. I had a lot of guys in my test game blink forward for some weird reason and like be behind enemy lines when the lines connected. So that was a little bit awkward. But these are great paths for a commander to have. Astral 1 has a little bit of offense potential. I'm not sure. I think you can summon birds with Air 1, so that's fine. He has stuff he can do behind the lines. I like that. This is probably the chassis I would use for my Prophet. He does have the good gear, including a shield. He can give himself a defensive thing, and then he can just do his Prophet stuff. He has 100 leadership, so he can lead troops around, and he doesn't really break the bank. So decent leader up there for sure. Best one we can get on land also. Next, we have the Triton King. This is a cap only. 545 gold, slow to recruit. So very expensive. 100 leadership is nice. Good magic resistant, good morale. Note, 218 gold per year is actually not that bad considering what he is, but only 17 research. So not efficient in that regards. He comes in with 4 water, and then he gets 2 separate 100% chances to get air, astral, or nature. You're probably going to want to fish, no pun intended, for a nature 2 guy, because he could make you a thistle mace, which would get you up to nature 3 for some nice nature stuff that you can do for summoning and crafting. He could get into small communions, but we could do something communion-wise. Big water. I mean, he could get upwards. I guess he could get a 5. He's probably going to be a 4. But you can easily craft him a Robe of the Sea and get him to 5. Pretty nice there. Unfortunately, he's aquatic. He does have cold resistance. He's Pro Cultivator 4. But if you're going to cultivate, you're probably not going to want to do it on these guys, just because the other guys, I think, are more cost efficient. And they do have Dominion Monster Summoner. I think I might have some on, or maybe they just died in my combat that I was doing. They died in my combat. They summon in Alicorns, which are the mount for these guys, but they're not going to have the barding. So they're not quite as good as these. I think their stats are even just a little bit lower because they're not trained. But they're fine. They're freebies. Do note, though, that just because they're freebies, it's free spawn that you can't kill off. So that could be rather annoying later on. I should have double-checked that. I want to say they might have some upkeep. If you know better, post below in the comments for me. If they have upkeep, then that's really bad. If they're true free spawn, then that's fine. It's whatever. Finally, we have 2 coastal recruitment. We have the Merman Commander. He is the Hoplite type commander. He has Formation Fighter. He is an amphibian. He has the Hoplite helmet. He has a Bronze Hallberg, and he has a Hoplon. Do note, none of that is iron. So he actually can go underwater and not have the problems, which unfortunately our Sacreds are kind of the opposite, that they have to get out of the water to not have a problem and then go repair. He has a Bronze sword, which he is pretty decent with. 15 damage is okay. 12 attack is rather nice. Do note, only 75 leadership, though. This really sucks. I wish these guys were 100. Why? Well, the guys that are going to want to lead around are formation fighters that you want to have in a line and javelin throwers that you want to have in a line. So he cannot do formations. So I get a couple of these guys, but I'm grumpy about it, and I would much rather replace them with our Conquerors of the Closed Realm. So this really needs to be buffed to 100 leadership. Again, this just sucks. It just sucks. It doesn't mesh well with their intended role of leading these land troops around. Finally, we have the Dokushos, which is a coastal recruit mage. Do note, he's not sacred, so you don't necessarily need a temple. He comes in with Fire 1, and then a random of Air, Water, Earth, or Astral. So, kind of iffy. The main pull for me here is A, none of our other mages can be recruited on land, so you have no choice. But B, he guarantees the fire and he's amphibious, so a couple of these guys to go out and do some fire searching might be worthwhile. They are slow to recruit, unfortunately. They do have the adept researcher, so you get 11 research for 76 gold per year. So this is your efficient mage, but he's going to be very slow to accumulate because of the slow to recruit. And note, he's very cowardly at 8 morale. So a lot of oofing going on here. One thing I will say for this whole lineup, remember Shambler skins exist and they only cost water gems. So even our big Triton, we can get him a Shambler skin, get him on land. I've been told, I haven't tested it here, but if you give this guy a Shambler skin, it seems that it lets their mount come on land too. Again, if you have knowledge of that, post in the comment below for me. So Shambler skins is really going to be our savior here, although even if you bring these guys on land, they are what they are. I don't know. I'm not impressed with their mage lineup, and it stinks that we don't have decent leadership or troops that can go vice versa. That is a major weakness. As previously mentioned, I think the Conqueror of the Closed Realm is probably your prophet, although we do have easy access to Bishop Fish. We can natively get water 4s, which is higher than the water 3 required to get them, and then get them a Shambler skin. So Bishop Fish are very accessible here. I'm not too worried about not being able to claim thrones, which is great because you're going to be trying to nab up all the coastal thrones, which are not going to be next to each other. So being able to multi-claim throne is usually kind of important. So hopefully we can do that. National items and spells. As for national items, we have no national items. As for national spells, we at least have 2 national spells. Thank goodness. We have Summon Hectoride. This requires 3 nature and a water. Remember, the highest we can roll is 2. So we're going to fish for, what is that, a quarter and a quarter. So a pretty small chance that we're going to get a nature 2 to make a Thistle Mace and then equip it to be a nature 3. If we can, a Hectoride can summon herself. So you're in and rolling. But until that point, it can be a little frustrating trying to get one in. And empowering kind of sucks because you'd like to use those gems to get them. You just get the 1 commander when you do that. Our second one is the Dactyl. This is an Earth 3 with a air. We cannot get that natively. We can get Earth 2 with an air. So you'd be looking at making some boots or empowering. And then once you can summon them in, I believe they can summon themselves in. We'll check it in a second. We do not have any native Earth income, unfortunately. Looking at those, the Hectoride, very similar. We've seen a lot of her in the Greeky type nations in early age mostly, but even into middle age. Water 2, Nature 3, a random of air, water, earth, nature. Priest level 2, they're amphibious, they have awe 6. They are poison resistant, they are magic beings, recuperation, so big supply bonus due to that nature magic. They're inspirational 2, and they reduce unrest by 3. You can see here, this is one of those really expensive type mages. 530 slow to recruit. Now, note, we can only summon them, so 30 nature gems, totally worthwhile here. Totally worthwhile. Very nice. With these, we could do things like Swarm. We could do things like Moss Body. We could do things like Bark Skin. That's our most accessible protection buff that we can do. Very nice. We would really like to be able to get these in there because we don't have the best. We just don't have the best mage core, and we're in a struggle to get it on land to help us, whereas she can do that right away. Awe 6 is pretty impressive. I could see some light thugging going on here. Do something where you give her some body armor, a shield, and probably like a coral blade just to give her some more HP, and rely on that 6 awe. That is really high awe. Most things with awe are like 1 to 6, 1 to 3. So 6 is really high on that awe scale. And just count on her. She could do like Moss Body, Personal Regeneration, Liquid Body, Quicken Self, Bark Skin, and then go to town. Maybe an AoE weapon would be good in that case. Either way, very interesting here. Good Comet Mage. You're never going to have as much of these as you wish you could get. Next, we have the Dactyl. Air 1, Water 1, Earth 2, and a random of Fire, Air, Water, Earth, Death. So you can get a Earth 3 guy who could summon more of himself. It's more about getting that first guy out that can do that. And the Hectorides you're guaranteed. With this guy, you are not. So could be a bit of an oof there. He is a Master Smith. That means his pathing counts as one higher for the purposes of making things. So could make us hammers and boots. Obviously, he can already do owl quills. We have that elsewhere, though. Those are really the big ones. Maybe some water stuff if he rolls into the water random. Death 1 would let him do a skull staff. That could be pretty interesting. Yeah, he's pretty darn good. He has a magic weapon for some reason. Why not? You'd love to get these guys, but A, you have no native earth income, and needing 3 earth and an air is pretty hard for us to do. Unlikely, unless you get pretty darn lucky. For other magic, this is going to be exceedingly important for this nation. Because we are so lackluster elsewhere, we have to be on point on our magic. I think most people... where are you at? Most people would consider the end game of the nation to be Wish. Because you have the Pearl Cultivators, we can turn water gems, which we have a lot of, into astral gems. You can use the Wish spell to wish for various things, and that's how they're going to plan to win the game. I don't think that a Wish strategy is a particularly great strategy, unless you're in a massive game. So that's all I'm going to say really about Wish. For normal things, in Conjuration, I think we want to rush Conjuration for a few reasons. One, we need summon water power. We need water elementals. Small ones are kind of meh. They're okay. We would definitely like bigger. If we're getting pinched, something like Krakens in the early game is pretty efficient summon. Now, do note they're aquatic only, which you know my feelings on that. But that's not terrible. Mix a few of those in with your lines. Could be pretty good. You have some amphibious things here that might be vaguely useful. We have School of Sharks. Bringing in 10 plus sharks with one of your Triton Lords can be pretty darn nice, just for lots of chaff that might get to the mages or just distract people. That could be pretty handy. Sea Serpents, again, a pretty strong summon that you can pull in if you need to. Moving up to 5, we have Voice of Tiamat. I feel like Water Nations should always strongly consider rushing this. It's a Water 2 ritual, range 4, and it finds you all elemental magic sites. So fire, water, earth, and wind, all the way searched up to 9 for you. Very, very nice. You'll be guaranteed you can get all those. We need the earth, we need the air, we'd like the water. The fire's kind of whatever, although we can actually use it. Forging in a jar of fire will allow our Fire 1 guys to use that to Phoenix power, and then their Fire 2 guys. And they could do some acid or some magma or just some straight fire spells. They can do a little something with that, but they're going to need some fire gems to be able to get there. Beyond that, sea trolls are usable. If we can get on land, winter wolves could be good, especially if you go with cold scales. But more importantly, naiads and naiad warriors. Naiads are kind of similar to the Hectoride we looked at, but she's going to have bronze armor, a shield, and a sword. They have some pathing that is kind of similar. Very, very nice leaders. They have awe. And the naiad warriors, for 18 water gems, you get 25 of them, and they're probably better than any of our troops, frankly. And they don't have homesickness or anything, so you don't have to worry about that. I think we can get our water income to be pretty impressive, so I don't feel like this cost is that prohibitive. I think that is a strong candidate for a early rush target. And since you're here anyways, now you have the full-size water elementals, which are much, much better than the regular ones, in my opinion. Beyond that, we also could maybe summon in some of the Earth 3 things. That is possible. We could use Assyric records to give us the history of nations. We could consider, I mean, this would be difficult to do, but we could break enough into death that maybe we could do some Ether Warriors. Probably better if you design your leader to, or your pretender to do it. Howl could be rather useful. Forest trolls could be rather useful. You're seeing lots of usable things here. If we go up to 6, now we get the bishop fish. And bishop fish are holy 3s. Not only can they claim thrones, but that gives you just multiple holy 3s for being able to smite things and being able to give yourself sermons of courage on land, which we otherwise cannot do. Shark attack is really nice. It just has sharks enter the battlefield as the battle rages. Can help you out if you're still underwater. Sea King's Court gives you a nice troll guards are like armored sea trolls. Gives you some sea trolls and the Sea King Commander. Pretty nice. He's a water mage himself. And I believe they are gem gens. Each one of them will produce a water gem every turn. So you kind of get a rebate on that. I would strongly consider this for my water spender. Beyond those, we would struggle to get to Astral 3, but we definitely could do it. And then we could do Etheric Knowledge and just search everything. This would probably be what I do to my land provinces. I do Tiamat below water and then do this on land. 25 Astral Pearls is normally a bit of a hurdle, but we can make Astral Pearls, so I don't think that's so bad. I could even consider rushing to 6. A couple things from other ones, really low level, just to get me going, and then maybe rush to 6 here. I could see that. Going higher there, now we're kind of, I don't know, running into more iffy stuff here. Yeah, I'm not so sure about those ones. In alteration, the standard alteration stuff apply, but in addition, we are going to want some water things for us to do. So things like gooey water, freeze, quickness. We can get quickness buffs out pretty efficiently. Formlessness might be useful. We do have the possibility of being able to use Bone Melter. This is a magic resistance, save or die AoE 1 spell that's very precise. If you have the people to cast this, this is incredibly good. Incredibly good. Save or die. And natively, we could pretty much make all the pen gear. So I think we could go all the way to 4 magic penetration. We'd have the eye, the necklace, the rune smasher, and what am I missing? Is it a helmet? Whatever the other one is. So could be very, very powerful there. And of course, Frozen Heart. An exceedingly powerful spell here. It's armor negating 10 plus cold magic damage. And note it's plus. So if you're using this on your Triton Kings, that's going to be doing like 13 plus a DRN roll of damage to their chest, negating armor. So you'll often get chest wounds even if you survive. This can be really, really powerful. And even your weakest little water 1 guys can spam out 5 or 6 of these before they pass out. And they're very precise and they're very deadly. Can be really, really nice attack spell there. Manifest Vitriol is another one. This one will allow you to get the green lions. They're ethereal and they have, I believe it's acid attack. So really, really nice. And again, we can make this work. We can make that happen. So I could see going up to 6 here. Wave Warriors just gives you the liquid body on bigger things. Quickening is a larger quickness spell. Could be rather good. And Evocation. Again, we're probably going to want Evo 1 right away just so we have Water Strike. Water Strike's a good early war spell, but we could do things like Geyser. We saw that could be really effective on high water pathing. Acid Spray, the various acid spells. Freezing Mist is something we have available to us. If we're on land and we need it, we have Rain available to us. Falling Frost is easily available to us. So I think what I'm saying here is consider Cold Scales. Our land move is garbage anyways. It's not going to slow us down much more than we already are. So that will help with things like Murdering Winter. I don't think I called that out. No, not here. Where are you at, my Murdering Winter? Murdering Winter. So this is Water 5. So one of our Triton Kings with a robe can easily cast this and does damage 8 magic cold damage. It's armor negating. It can be really good. This can kill off a lot of low-level troops pretty effectively. So I would consider going for the cold. Remember, cold doesn't affect you as much in deep water either. You also have the availability to do Tidal Wave, which is pretty rare. Could just screw people's coastal forts really, really badly. Minus 30% population. You could depopulate quite effectively. Construction, of course, owl quills, but also you're going to need shambler skins. Late game, you might even want magic carpets so your bishop fish can fly. Robes of the sea, you're going to want thistle maces, water boosters, etc., etc. Clam pearls might be something that would be interesting. So plenty of things to get in construction. Enchantment, vile water gets you gelatinous cubes. Note you can't do it underwater, so you need to get on land first. But we could do gelatinous cubes, and then we could buff them with like gift of flight and let them fly around eating people. Delicious and hilarious, to be sure. We have, what else? Quagmire could be interesting. Just slow people down if you're counting on your mages more than you're counting on your troops. Friendly Currents is a really nice spell. It'll lower the fatigue cost of fighting underwater, and I think it gives you a little bit of extra defense and combat speed. So just a nice, just big boost for a big army underwater that you might get some use out of. I think that's it. I missed one back in Evocation. In Evocation, we also have Mealstorm. This requires water 6, so this is going to be a little bit of work to get to. It does require 80 water gems. I've never cast this spell, but I think this would be worthwhile. It gives you 15 water, 5 astral, 3 air, and 1 of each other type of gem per month. So this is a lot of income for a single global spell that probably nobody else is going for, so it's not like somebody's going to nab this from you. This is going to be some work to get here. You're probably going to need Robe and then probably an Empower. I don't think you're going to go to Construction 7 to get the, it's not Water Lindsay, or whatever the other booster is, but maybe. And if you've done a bunch of Voice of Tiamat, you probably have good water income to start with, which would power this, which means we could turn those water gems into Seeking Trolls or into Naiads. So one of the two ways for that, I think, would be pretty interesting. Thaumaturgy, Scrying Pool, we don't have the Glamour, unfortunately, but you could do the fatigue stuff with Sailor's Death, Curse of the Desert, etc. In addition, for the astral stuff, you might be able to do a little bit of light mind burning, etc., or paralyze, something like that. Could be pretty good. Beyond that, we're moving into pretty expensive communions that I don't know if that's going to happen or not. Okay, so let's bring all of that together. Middle-aged Pelagia is a nation that is pretty well equipped to fight underwater. We have strong water mages. We have good water troops. Our Sacred is really good underwater. It's essentially a heavy cav underwater. That's rather nice. We have priest level 2s to support our troops. Our troops are pretty decent on morale and armor and gear. All things are fine. However, once you've dominated the seas, and that might be easier said than done, there's some good contenders in this game. Ys here has basically everything except for these two. So they pretty much got all the rest of this because I have been struggling. But assuming you win your underwater one, you need to get on land. Well, how are you going to win on land? So in this game, we've got 1, 2, 3 thrones underwater. That is, even if those were all tier 3s, which they aren't, that would be 9 points. So for my standard game where I play 10-point games, I couldn't win the game. So I'd have to get thrones on land. That's where you're going to fall apart. Look at this fort. This is a coastal fort. This is all the way up to castle. I can get my Indies, which in this case are horse tribes. I can get my Merman Commander, my Priest level 1, my Didactos, who is a slow to recruit research mage, essentially. I can get Mermaid Hoplites, which are nice, but look at the cost of that. That is not cheap for something that's not very killy in middle age. This would be amazing in early age, but middle age 13 with a 10 attack is not going to be killing much. And our Apostates of the Closed Realm, same thing. Decent troops. They'd be killer in early age. These are like Baratosian heavy troops or something. Pretty nice in early age. In middle age, acceptable, I suppose, but Very pricey and limited with bad local leadership options. That's a big oof for me. So I think we are going to be looking at one other spell, Lost Land. I think you should strongly consider setting yourself up to be able to cast this. This gives you for 6 earth and 5 water and 100 earth gems. Now that's a lot, but remember, we could turn water gems into pearls 1-to-1 and then pearls into anything, and I think we would make them into earth gems. We've tested this out. If you want to see that, look at the EA relay stream. Very powerful. Nothing your enemy can do to stop you. You cast it on a province and it becomes underwater. If the locals are not amphibious, they die. Very powerful. So, in a game like this is definitely going to get sunk into the sea. This is definitely going to get sunk into the sea. Hopefully, I've just won the game, but if I had to, this one could. Well, no, he's not actually on the water. So, for one like this, I would have to sink this and then I could do that. So, if you have to, I could go all the way in. I could make myself a straight to get into the middle if I had to. Now, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100. That's not cheap. That is really, really not cheap. But at least it gives you an option because these troops ain't it, champ. This just ain't it. This is not going to be winning you wars against land nations. And for mages, this guy's not doing it either at slow to recruit. So down under the seas here, we have a water 1 with a random that can come on land. And that is our only, that is our only mage that doesn't need a Shambler skin to get on land. Oh, I take that back. We also have the Mystic, who is slow to recruit. So we're going to have terrible magic support, or it's going to be very expensive having to wear Shambler skins to get up there. Now, that does give you a little bonus HP and some armor, so it's not like it's pure penalty or anything, but you need mage turns to do it. They cost 5 water gems each. I mean, this is a whole rigmarole that you have to go through. And I think if people are just dedicated to not letting you get on land, your only hope is lost land. So I would strongly consider taking a god who can at least do a sprint to try to make it to lost land. So that means probably starting with some amount of earth and water on your chassis. So win the ocean, search it for gems, spend gems to summon and craft gear to help you win on land. And failing that, I think you're looking at lost land to sink thrones and secure your victory that way. Do note, if you are to sink capitals or just anything else that's owned, everyone just dies. So like if I was to sink that capital or that capital, they would just all die. It would be like a 0 or 10 population province. And there's nothing they can do about it. So that is the revenge of the seas if it comes to it, I suppose. Let's go look at some pretenders. Like many water nations, we have a very limited roster of gods to pick from, unfortunately. We have the Archmage, who is aquatic only. We have the Grand Hydromancer. He is a water gem genner. I don't know how I feel about that. Water gems are really important, but we're going to have a lot of them. He is amphibious. I appreciate that. He's 100 points. I kind of wish he was like 80 or 90, but I guess he does have gem gen. I don't know how to evaluate him. Moving up to Dom 2, I do think that we have some valid expanders in the Earth Serpent or the Worm. The only problem is, if you're going to take an expander, you're going to want him awake. We are a nation that needs scales. This is something like this I would consider kind of my baseline scales, and then of course you're going to want ideally some actual dominion. Well, I'm already at negative 52, and we haven't even given him any pathing whatsoever. So let's say something like this so that we can do hard skin. We're at a minus 180. Okay, well, what are we going to peel off here? We have 20 left. Can't get that. There you go. So he does regen naturally, so he does have that. He does have fear. With hard skin, that's taking him to 20. He'll be at like 22-ish naturally, and then you're going to cast a protection spell, and hopefully You're going to have Temper Flesh, and then Liquid Body, and Breath of Winter. We've seen this guy in other underwater nations before. He can do it. He can. He really likes a little bit of research, although he doesn't have to wait. He can take easy provinces since he does come in with regeneration. But God, this sucks. This sucks a lot. This sucks a lot. Beyond him, we do have the Telking God King. Remember, when you go into Flappy form, you auto cast Foul Vapors. So we could summon in something that has some poison resist just to kind of buy him some time, and then he could just poison out everyone. As a nation, we don't have any poison resistance, so he can't really go with the army to do that. But if he has to fall back, he can stay in his Titan form, where he is a Master Smith and can help you do some forging. Do note he comes in with the correct pathing and slots to be able to do Lost Land. I do think that is vaguely interesting. He's a good commander. He does have Reaper, but that kills 5 units, like 5 units around, or 5 population around. That's whatever. Sailing actually could be kind of useful here. He could lead around land troops and sail with them. Something that otherwise we wouldn't be able to do. So, like on a donut map, like I was on, you'll often have the top and the bottom of the donut because that's what you've claimed when you came out of the water. He could actually get your land troops back and forth across that. So, I do think this actually has more value than it often otherwise would. Does have poison resistance, does have shock resistance. An interesting chassis at least, and I think one to consider here. I don't like the aquatic only. If you did feel like you wanted an aquatic only, you at least have easy access to Bishopfish, so I don't think that would be too bad, but I don't know. I'm just not in love with aquatic only. Him especially because he has Sloth. We need production. Moving up to Dominion 3. Again, just none of these really do it for me. Aquatic only. I'm just double checking if any of you guys are Gym Gins or something. Extra research could be good, but he's so bloody expensive. We don't have cheap mages, and we don't have particularly efficient mages, so I don't know if the inspiring researcher is going to particularly pay off, unfortunately. Yeah, I'm not feeling those. Moving up to Dom 4, Monolith, always a fan favorite, as it were. Statue of War, do note that the things it summons will drown, so they're not going to be helpful here. Do note a monument is not allowed to teleport. Just be careful there. Statue of the Underworld, I could see this. Maybe you just take Fear and you take it like dormant or maybe even imprisoned. Maybe. I don't know. Not too in love with that. Statue of Fertility here. Again, we're already going to struggle to afford the scales we want. And what blessing are we taking here? Statue of Order, again, we already have the Order scale, so we don't need that. I suppose this one's at least relatively close to being able to teleport or gate. That could be something maybe vaguely useful, but we already have the Order. The Progenios of the Sea, do note he can never leave the sea, even though he can teleport basically anywhere in the world. He can't leave the sea, no matter what. You can't give him an item or something that will help him out. So I don't know. This guy's interesting, but I don't know if I'd ever play him. Maybe if we played a Water World game or something with just water nations. So overall, not the best, not the worst. I think there are at least a few choices here. Let's take a look at what I came up with. So we have Frank the Snake. He has the guy we basically looked at. He has hard skin. He does have production. He has cold. Note that he is not a cold-blooded creature. He has a little bit of order and then just the production, essentially. And that's what you have to pay. And note, he only has 4 Dominion. That sucks. That really hurts your Dominion spread. And he doesn't want to fight outside of that because he would lose hard skin. So you're kind of limited where you can go. If you do go this route, you want to rush out temples. Like, probably everything you conquer, you want a temple in it. And you want to rush 5 temples at least to get this up to 5 and get that spread moving a little bit more. He would also struggle to do Lost Land. He has the Earth, but he would have to do a lot of empowering in water to get up high enough. My second one is Flippy. Flippy is that Telking King. I like this one a lot more. He is an imprisoned stat stick. His plan is he's going to give cold resistant to our sacreds and 3 strength. Our sacreds are not particularly killy, but they do have a good attack. So giving them 3 extra strength will help them punch through armor and actually get some kills. The cold resistance was, if I'm going to take cold 2, we're going to be up fighting in the cold. And our champions of the closed realm are already kind of high encumbrance. And this will just help them shrug that off a little bit. In addition, we're probably going to be slinging around Falling Frost or other cold spells, and that'll just help minimize our friendly fire a little bit. Beyond that, I do think that maybe some extra Dominion might be a little better. I think the luck's a little too high here. I think we need more Dominion because we're going to get pushed around pretty badly by this. And order and luck aren't the best combo. Not the worst either, but not the best combo there. So let's look at him again, maybe. So if we went back to create for Pelagia, okay, we want the Telkine, and we're gonna try for a little bit higher. We probably don't need that much order. Maybe we back off of that. Yeah. We do need the money. And we can go imprisoned. And something like that. What did we have? We had cold resistance. We have strength of the earth, strength of the earth, strength of the earth. I think this is actually too high. I think it's that. He can wear boots and he can wear the robe, so he doesn't need to be all the way up there. So something like this, and then, yeah, now he can cloud trapeze, which is rather nice. We still have 62 points left. Yeah, that's the problem. Oh, rip. It's 40 for another path. So something like this. I don't know. I'd play around with this a little bit more. That leaves us with 1 bless point. Movement penalty. Our army is already going to be so slow that's not going to matter. Precision, we don't really have sacred mages. I guess we spend our point on mountain survival. Again, not particularly great, if I'm being honest there. You could play around with this a little bit more. But this shows off high scales, and then his plan is I'm going to just survive. I'm going to get lots of gems underwater. I'd love to take some land, but if it doesn't happen, I'm going to drown you, and that's how I'm going to win. Having the foul vapors also super late could just be a nice little surprise for somebody. You could wipe out like a really big human army that's stomping one of your forts or something with a nice surprised cloud trapeze in to do that. So I think that could be relatively interesting. Beyond that, I don't know. I'm not too in love with most of those other choices that we have there. In conclusion, Middle-Age Pelagia just feels like another one of those nations that isn't quite finished. There's some weird design decisions, like bad leadership for our land guys, our sacreds wearing iron gear but needing to get out of the water and fix it immediately, not having any heroes. Again, if we just had a little bit more on the national magic, like give me something that is a water astral crosspath that needs astral gems. Something interesting and decent. Some kind of summon, some kind of combat spell, something. They just don't have it. They just don't have it. Now, water-wise, you'll be fine. Well, you'll be all right, depending. We do have some tough opponents in underwater right now, but we'll be okay. It's getting on land and actually winning the game that is going to be the major struggle. So let me know what your tips are. I know I have some water fanatics that like these videos. Lay it on me. Let me know the secret sauce here, because this is another one that I'm just like, I don't know. This is going to be another pretty painful one. Do note, look at this horrible start. For water resources, I had 1 province. Thanks, generation. All right, enough lamenting of that. If you enjoy these videos, don't forget to leave a like on the video. If you are not already subscribed, I hope this is the video that has earned your subscription. And if you'd like to go above and beyond to support the channel, you can always leave a super thanks here. You could join us on stream and do a super chat, or consider becoming a member. As a member of the channel, you get early access to videos such as this, usually about a week early, and early access to just whatever other content I'm uploading. Either way, thank you for all your support, whether it's jumping on stream, whether it's helpful comments, just leaving a like. Much appreciated for everyone. All right, get out there and let's make a splash with middle-aged Pelagia. I'll see you there, swimmers.